This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. So at this time, we'll call to order, and if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Summer, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Gilmore. Here. Mrs. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Sell.
Here.
Mrs. Voorhees. Here. Mr. Schellenberger.
Here. Before we take motions to set the agenda, I think there's some removals.
Two items on the agenda we are removing this evening. Under personnel, letter B, number 4, B4, please take that off the agenda. And also under personnel, item C4, take that off the agenda along with attachment 2. B4 had attachment C, C4 has attachment 2. Those are removed from the agenda. Thank you.
We're open for motions to set the agenda.
I'll move the amended agenda.
Second.
Mr. Gilmore. Aye. Mrs. Piper.
Aye.
Mrs. Voorhees. Mr. Sell.
Yes.
Mr. Schellenberger.
Yes. Okay, at this time we have reception of the public, and we're going to go in a little bit of different order. We'll let the young folks go first. Salina Primary School. You want me to duck?
No, you should be fine. Come on.
There you
Hi, I'm Cindy Bushore, and I teach second grade at the primary building. And I brought a few of my students over to show you one of our favorite ways to use technology in the second grade. We have to write reports, research reports as part of our curriculum for the second grade. And I'm sure you all remember when you were in school doing reports, and a lot of the time you had to produce a poster for that. Well, we kind of kicked it up a notch, and we are doing what is called a Glogster, which is an interactive online poster. So the kids do the research, and they gather their information, and then they go to the Glogster site, and they type in their information, and they can go on the internet and pull in pictures and videos to add to their posters. They can do voice recording for part of their information. They do the whole designing themselves. They decide the background, the color of the text, and the size of the text that they use. They also choose the pictures that they put on it and the videos that they put on it. And then they do a recording of part of the information for their reports. When they finish their Glogsters, they then present the reports to their class. We put them up on the smart board. They need to come up in front of the class, read the information, show their videos, and play their recordings. And this is also part of the presentation, one of the standards they do there. So the kids tonight, I have 6 of my students with me tonight. They're each going to go to a board member and show them their personal Glogsters. We have some of them flashing up on the screen here. Unfortunately, they won't be able to share any of their videos tonight because they had to set something different for the testing that's happening in the high school tomorrow. So the internet won't allow the videos to play as they should. But other than that, they all know how to present their Glogsters. They've done it to their class before. So kids, if you just want to go over and show their Glogsters to one of the board members, just go over and do that way they can see. All the way to the end. All the way to the end.
One of the other things the primary building has been doing as well is Foxers with Technology. The kindergarten students have been working with a First Lego League Junior grant, which I was able to obtain along with Wright State University. So for the last 12 weeks, the Wright State University education students have been working with kindergarten students with First Lego League Junior, and it's called Creature Craze this time around. And their task is to learn about the honeybee. So they're learning all about the life cycle of the honeybee, and then they are designing a habitat that not only a honeybee could live in, but they also have to do research on one other animal that could live within that habitat. And part of their habitat that they're creating also has to move. So they're actually doing programming some with We Do 2.0 Lego software, and they're making a part of their habitat move. So that's all going to wrap up on April 21st. So we're going to do a little Creature Craze showcase in the cafeteria at the primary building from 9 to 10. So I wanted to invite everybody to that as well. Yeah. Here we go. That's the primary building.
Thank you, Mrs. Kreitz and Mrs. Busher, and thank you, kids. Next up, Mr. Stewart. Nothing, okay. Is Mrs. Henderson here from Oaksey, or an Oaksey representative? Don't think so. Okay, Amy, Mercer County Head Start.
Evening. I don't have any kids to come up and show off, but I did kind of put together a year in review of Head Start and what we've been doing this year and what we plan to do to finish out the year. And prior to the meeting start, I put some forms on the desk there for the board members. I'll be referencing a couple of those things. So we are currently in our third year of a 5-year grant. So in 2 years, I'll have to reapply for the Head Start grant here for Salina City Schools. And I provided for the board just a copy of our 5-year goals and where we're at. We're finishing up objectives in year 2, and we're working on objectives in year 3. So you can look at those at your leisure. I wanted to let you know we are currently serving 130 children. And we are still recruiting because we have the availability to serve 158 children. So for those of you in the audience, if you know of anyone who has children ages 3 and 5, I strongly encourage you to have them give us a call so that we can enroll them so that they can get into preschool. Because we are under-enrolled, we are under what they call a risk management plan with the Office of Head Start. And we had our risk management phone call in February. And we had to put together a formal recruitment plan that we have submitted to Chicago. And pretty much what our plan consists of is there are certain times for the next 12 months that every month, Carla and the Family Advocates put together, it's an ERSI report, and that lets them know what we've been doing for recruitment, attendance, and enrollment, and they just monitor it. Unfortunately, this is not unique to us. This is common throughout the United States. So, and here in Ohio, I can speak specifically about neighboring agencies. They are all vastly under-enrolled. Miami Valley, which serves 3 counties, about an hour south of us, is roughly 500 students under-enrolled. So this is not unique to us. But it's not a good thing either. You receive those federal dollars. Our community assessment says these children are in our community. We just need to locate them and get them enrolled. I wanted to run down some of the trainings that we provided this year for our staff. Teachers received training on creative curriculum. That's the curriculum that we utilize. Conscious discipline is the social emotional curriculum that we utilize, and high five math and science. And as I talk a little bit more about our goals and things like that, I'll reference those. Our Family Advocates recently went to a 3-day social work conference that's presented by Ohio Head Start, where they learned what we refer to as PFACE, which is Parent, Family, Community Engagement. Our management team has received numerous trainings on the new performance standards. Those were released last fall and went into effect on November 7th, and there's still more training that they are offering. Just when you think you know what you're doing, you read into it, and Washington, D.C. says, oh, surprise. So there have been some changes even to what we were given, or at least some understanding of those changes. But that's how regulation happens with the government. I've been rewriting our service plans and updating policy and procedure to reflect those new performance standards. We recently had our federal ERSI review. And just to explain an ERSI review, with a 5-year grant, there are 5 federal reviews that take place within your grant cycle. The ERSI review was our 4th review. We have one left, and it will happen next year, and it will be governance and fiscal. We have not heard back from this federal review. They complete it, then somebody in Washington, D.C. reads through it. But when I contacted the people in charge of doing it, they're like, wow, the things that they wrote a lot about weren't really bad, but we can't tell you anything other than that. So I'm anticipating that everything was fine with that review. We will get a formal letter, and I'll present that to the board. This, I've placed out there for you. This is our annual report. This is mandated by the Head Start Act. I have to complete it every year. And this is information reflective of program year 15-16, not the current year that we're in. It will always be a year behind. So I provided that for you. We are currently going through what is called our self-assessment. It actually ended last Friday. The reports are due to me this week, and for next month's board meeting, I will have a self-assessment report for you and the continuous improvement plan. All of that information gets put into the grant that I submit that is due on September 1st for continued funding. So all of these things are required. In January, Carla Kessler, the Family Engagement Service Manager, and myself went to Washington, D.C. We went with Head Starts all across the United States. There were actually only 2 states who did not have representation, and they were Hawaii and Alaska, for obvious reasons. Ohio had the largest delegation, which was very nice. There were 78 of us from Ohio that showed up. And just advocating on behalf of Head Start. We all know that the political climate right now is kind of up in the air and nobody really knows what they're doing. And so the message from our lobbying groups was, get out there and advocate and let people know who you are. We had the opportunity to meet with Jim Jordan and also Congressman Latta's office, as well as Congressman Davidson's office. So it was a good visit. Some statistics I wanted to share with you. One of the things when it comes to advocating for Head Start and talking to people in Congress, it's all about employability. You have to have an employable workforce. So So I've been watching our statistics, and I was actually able to pull today that 89% of our primary caregivers are employed. So our program is working in the benefit of our families. They know that their children have a safe place to go and they can go to work. So that's a pretty significant statistic. Also, with the implementation of conscious discipline, the number of our mental health referrals decreased, and our social emotional scores for children actually increased. Of all of our areas, the social emotional area was the highest growth rate. So that says that conscious discipline is working. We received a duration award, and I'm currently still working with the management team and Dr. Ken and Tom about finalizing details about what that will look like over the next several months. I did want to share that Mercer County Head Start was chosen as the feature grantee for the Ohio Head Start Association. So we will be in their publications this year. And a couple of other things we've been busy doing. We helped co-host and sponsor the Nose on Door campaign for this county. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. And also, we went into a partnership with Department of Job and Family Services and Foundations Behavioral Health, and developed a kinship care group for families who are providing care to children who are not their biological children, or they might be a grandparent or something along those lines. So we have been very busy doing wonderful things. So that's my year in review.
Thank you, Mrs. Esser. Yeah, if you folks with your children that perform for us up here, if you want to take off, or if you want to sit here and watch us, why, that's fine too. But if you don't feel obligated to stay, so if you want to go, you can go. Okay, at this time, we're looking for motion for the approval of the consensus agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Cindy and Bill. When you're ready, Mr. Summer, we'll take the treasurer's report.
Okay, the first item, I ask you to approve the minutes of the February 27th, 2017 regular meeting. I'm asking you to approve the financial report for February 2017, showing total revenues of $7.5 million and total expenditures of almost $3.3 million. And the $7.5 million is inflated for the month of February due to property tax advances that we've been receiving. Item number 3, approved total checks written for February 2017, just over $3 million. Approved the investment report as of February 28th, 2017, with an ending cash balance of $31.25 million. Approved the SM2 for February 2017. And then also a resolution to approve the Mercer County ESC service agreement for fiscal year 2018.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Summer, the revenues that are coming in advance, are those predictable and where you would think that we should be?
Yeah, I think they are. In February, we got about $5.6 million in tax returns.
And does that look to be where we've been?
Yes. And then Mercer February settlement yet, so I mean, it's not finalized for this year yet.
On the attachment for the F2, I'm looking briefly down the column on the fiscal year differences. Are we, like income tax was lower than anticipated? Other financing, you go to that far right column, I see a lot of negatives. Is that just because of where the figures are coming in and going out
I
at
think
the time of the year?
it's the timing of the year right now.
Okay,
It's the new attachment two.
four.
Attachment, yeah.
Also had a question regarding some of the attachments. I don't know exactly, I'd have to look it up, Mr. Summer, but some of those, let's see, I think it was Fund 525, 532, 533, the ones with the straight zeros, race to the top, et cetera. We're gonna keep those hanging around for a while. I can find it for you here.
It's the way the reports are printed out of the system. I don't tell it which reports to do, I just say, print this report, and those funds are included in there, even though they are all zeros. I'm not sure why they do that, but it's not that I'm keeping them there, it's just that they're there.
Is there
Okay.
any way to go in and
That's
deactivate
what I
those
was wondering.
funds, make them like inactive so they don't,
I can,
wouldn't print out?
I can ask about that. I certainly can ask about that.
Because some of them are pretty dated in there. They've been straight zeros for quite a while.
Oh, yeah, Race to the Top hasn't been around for a number of years, so. I will check into that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Summer? Dr. Schmidt, the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Schellenbarger. Under Personnel, number 1, approve the following substitute for 2016-17, John Sutter. Number 2, approve to accept the resignation due to retirement of Dean Ward, custodian at the primary school, effective July 1st. He had 19 years of service. Approval to accept the resignation due to retirement of Michelle Hardesty, secretary at the middle school, effective June 1st, 29 years of service. Number 5, approval of a 60-day probationary contract for Julie McBride, cafeteria worker at the primary school. That'll be for 2 hours per day, effective March 20th. Number 6, approval of a 60-day probationary contract for Allison Braun, teacher assistant at the high school and also the primary school, effective March 27th. Number 7, approval to hire Denise Smith, Head Start bus driver. That's effective January the 3rd. Approval to hire Dana Swartz, Head Start bus driver, also effective January the 3rd. Number 9, approval to hire David Davis, bus driver, full route, effective January 3rd. Number 10, approval to hire Tanya McDonald, Head Start bus driver, effective January 10th. Number 11, approval to hire Carol Hayes, Head Start bus aide, effective January 10th. Number 12, approval to hire Amy Egler, Head Start family advocate, effective January 10th. Number 13, approval of a change of contract for Marlene Snyder, high school guidance counselor, requesting 3 deduct days, March 29, 30, and 31. Number 14, approval of a change of contract for Nancy Menchover. She is changing from cafeteria worker at the primary, those 2 hours, to being a high school custodian for 8 hours, and that's effective February 15th. She has completed her probationary period. The following resolutions approve the lowest mowing and marking bids. There was a combination for Section 1 is NOS Lawn Care, Section 2 is C&I Lawn Service. Those will be 3-year contracts from April 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2020. Number 2, recommend approval to accept the bus bid from Rush Truck Center of Ohio for the purchase of 2 2018 72-passenger buses at a cost of $80,743 apiece.
Any questions?
On the teacher assistant, is it unusual to have a high school and primary break the hours like that? And did we have someone resign from that position?
Yes, we did.
Okay, they had them separate like that?
That is correct.
Okay.
With the buses, have we decided to abandon the lease program and just go back to purchasing?
At this point, Tom, do you feel better about answering that question, why to go with a purchase instead of a lease when you're dealing with just 1 or 2 buses?
And as far as purchasing, I'm in favor of just paying the price now and buy the buses. I feel that we need to get back into a rotation after talking with the bus garage. And their thought was, I think they said 2 in 1 year, 1 the next year, and then 2 to avoid, I think they went with 5 buses because there was a period of time when no buses were purchased.
Yeah, we did the lease, did you do it twice, I think?
It's just a one
Was it
time.
just one time? Okay, basic, yeah, to catch up, because we had some lean years and
Right.
couldn't afford the buses, so.
And the lease, was that over a 5-year period? When they
Yes.
approved it? So essentially, we'll still have a couple years to pay off
Yeah,
the
still
lease plus
paying.
the additional cost of the new buses.
Do you know how long the buses are projected to last? Are they good for 6 years or so many miles, or?
Well, I think they said they get buses out there for 18, 19 years. Problem is, if you maintain the bus, the diesel engines last forever. It's the framing and the bodies that rust apart.
How many buses do we have?
We're at 19.
The oldest one being,
We've got more than that. We've got 19 on the road, excuse me. So I
So,
believe 26 in the fleet.
Yeah.
I remember last time we had that sheet done, it was pretty extensive.
and how old the oldest one?
Probably one of the Head Start buses would be one of the oldest.
He said that the other day, but I don't remember.
It's over 20 years, for sure.
They get rotated around though, right, by mileage, and then the ones that are older aren't sent as far away on.
Correct.
Okay.
And then didn't we also buy some school vans last year? So how long are we due to buy some vans for the district?
Most of those purchases in the past have actually come out of the athletic fund for athletic purchases.
The last one was, I think, when Mr. Boyd was here, and it was for the athletic department through, there's an info on it, is it VFW?
No, they said they have 1 bus they want to try and sell. Get rid of some old Head Start van.
On the road, yeah.
Any other questions? Dr. Schmeezing, if you continue with the superintendent's report?
Under personnel, number 1, approval to accept the resignation due to retirement of Steve Bader, high school and elementary school phys ed teacher at the end of the school year after 35 years of service. Also, Steve has resigned the supplemental positions of assistant varsity football and head girls basketball. Number 2, approval of 1-year extended service contract for the 16-17 school year for Carla Kessler, Family Engagement Services Manager for 20 years at her per diem rate. Also approval of a 1-year extended service contract for the 16-17 school year for Angie Stevenson, Health and Community Service Manager for 20 days at her per diem rate. As you're aware, we do have the duration grant for our Head Start folks, and we need to start spending some of that money now, so we have the need of those individuals to work extra days in the summer. And C4 is now omitted. C5, approve the following personnel for pupil activity program contracts for the 16-17 school year. Scott Miller, assistant varsity football, and Jeff Stein, assistant varsity football. They will split that position. Number 6, approval to accept the resignations for the following supplemental contracts. Trent Temple, head football coach; Brett Bacher, assistant football coach; Tyler Fowkes, assistant football coach; Brendan Bader, assistant football coach. Number 7, approval to accept the resignation of Kelly Newcomb for the 17-18 supplemental contract for middle school cheerleader advisor. Number 8, approve the following supplemental contracts for the 17-18 school year pending proper certification. Kyle White, JV boys soccer. Number 9, approve the following personnel for pupil activity program contracts for the 17-18 school year. Taylor Schindeldecker, middle school cheerleading advisor; Matt Loiters, assistant boys soccer. Number 10, approve Audrey Harner as volunteer softball coach for the 16-17 school year. And the 2 resolutions: approval to vacate the Franklin School in Montezuma and move the Mercer County Head Start program to the education complex. That'll be by the end of May 31st. Number 2, approval of an overnight trip to Clinton Massey High School for the Ohio Association of Student Council State Conference for our high school student council, and that's held April 27th and 28th of 2017. For TriStar, we're looking to accept the 2006 Chevy Impala from the Village of Coldwater Police Department to be used in the TriStar Career Compact Automotive class. The value of this vehicle is $2,475. The Head Start report is attached, attachment number 8.
Questions?
How many students will be moving from the Franklin School? 135?
138.
138.
Dr. Ken, do you want to elaborate a little more on why and the kind of timeline that has come about as a result of the well situation and the boiler situation out there?
We can certainly do that. I know we were looking at some numbers already earlier in the year when we were doing our budget reductions. And the one piece we were looking at was the expense of operating that school for the number of students that we have out there. The one piece that happened most recently, we were planning on doing the vacating when TriStar opened its new building in 2019, and there was an additional space at the Ed Complex. We still have adequate space at the Ed Complex. With the well, the EPA, more or less, we received a notice today that there was a problem with the way that we replaced the well casing. The well casing was rusting. They gave us 2 options to replace it. We replaced it with a plastic or PVC piece, and they said it really had to be metal on metal, but with the rust situation, we could not do the metal-to-metal fix. So at this point, they're saying that we need to dig a new well. The well, along with the boring, is going to be anywhere from a $30,000 to $70,000 piece. And as well, we know that the furnace situation there is not well. And bad choice of words. Excuse me. The furnace situation is also one that's in dire need of being fixed. There are blisters on the heating elements currently, so those need to be replaced. Actually, to replace the whole heating system, as Assistant Superintendent Dean Giesecke and Garmin and Miller laid out for us, I believe that cost would be just $1.2 million, I believe, to fix that adequately. And at this point, if we were planning on vacating the building within 2 years, it just seems like a wise financial move to make that move at this point.
Could you also expand a little bit on the extended service contract? My understanding is that was a lot done for the whole day program, but the extra work that would be needed through the summer to get that going.
Right on. As part of the duration grant They are looking at having us change from half-day programs at Head Start to full-day programs. And all of those programs need to be full-day by 2021. So one of the classrooms that we're bringing over, along with the classroom over at Rockford, will be full-day programs. And pretty much each year, we will change one of the classrooms over from 2 partial classes, a morning, afternoon class, to an all-day class for the students.
I was gonna ask Mrs. Esser, where are you physically going to have your kids there?
There will be 2 classrooms on the ground floor, down where Salina Public Preschool is now, and 2 under the auditorium. Am I saying that correctly?
One on either side of the auditorium, and there are 2 below the field house, actually, on the west side of the field house.
And it's where Head Start was located before they went to Franklin.
That's all you need is 4 classrooms.
And then also on number 10, the volunteer pending certification, correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions? Are there any items to remove from the consensus agenda?
I would like to remove C5.
Anyone else? Okay, let's go ahead with the approval of the remaining consensus agenda items.
Okay, Mrs. Piper,
Aye.
Mr. Sell,
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore. Aye. Mrs. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Shellenberger.
Aye. Okay, discussion on the agenda removal items.
For C5, since I asked you to get removed, for some reason this is not set with me from the get-go, and I was then told if you gotta vote no, you gotta, I'll explain why. Did a little research. When those 2 gentlemen were approved in June, they were approved as volunteers for football. It was not specified any particular level. The minutes that were kept and approved the following month, again, for football. So those 2 items, the reason we keep records, I guess, is to recall what we did, what action we took. All summer, they served as volunteers. You know, when you take a position as a volunteer, it's going to take a lot of time. At some point in time, my understanding is they were led to believe or promised, whatever word you want to use, that they would get paid for the position because there was no freshman football. That was not brought to the board through the chain of command. I believe that it was requested and then was told, no, it's not a paid position, you are volunteers. And then there was a call made and it was brought to us by board member. Again, I feel that's very much against the chain of command. I think it's in not what either party thought in the beginning when we approved it. And last month, we corrected a situation with some hourly pay. If we just don't stick to our own policies and guidelines and following the chain of command, things like this are just going to keep happening. And I'm to the point where I'm going to stand up this time and say, you didn't do it right. So I just wanted to speak my piece.
Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Mr. Forkamp, do you know total number of football coaches that we are supposed to have? I mean, this goes 7th grade through high school. so we were down to two that were supposed to be freshman coaches, but also two varsity coaches, Mr. Inwally, that left, and it was.
We were down one varsity coach, one assistant coach.
Okay.
So we did have a 8th grade head football coach and assistant,
Yes.
and 7th grade head and assistant.
And no freshman coaches because there was no freshman team. They went up to help coach junior varsity.
Helped with the varsity JV.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and answer one of Mrs. Piper's concerns. The young man that contacted me, I don't think he wasn't trying to violate any protocol. He didn't know what it was. And so as soon as he, ran into me in kind of an informal situation, I went straight to Mr. Fortcamp and just said, hey, as I understand it, they believe that they were going to get paid for this position. What is your feeling on this situation? And that's kind of where it went. But my attitude, I'll be honest, I thought if they coached all year and they gave up vacations to help coach 2-a-days and they went to clinics and conferences, there should be some kind of compensation. That was my attitude.
Every volunteer does that, I do believe. Many of them do, let me say it that way.
And we have to pay for online courses,
For whom?
volunteers.
No, I don't think, did we pay for those?
No, I said,
We don't.
we
No.
as volunteers
Exactly.
pay for online.
Right,
Yeah.
and most parent organizations reimburse the volunteers for the expenses of the online classes and the background checks, or at least some of them do. If you look at their activity budgets,
I
you'll
don't
see
know.
that there's,
I think they should be compensated for those courses personally, but that's another argument.
well, that's, yeah, it is. And I think the whole idea of volunteers, it was great until I saw what a volunteer has to do in the amount of time. And, but I still contend that those two guys took on a volunteer position, and all summer, from the time we approved them, they were seen every day, and nobody brought it to us until a board member did. And now the person who supposedly promised has since resigned, so,
Well, isn't it also true though, Jeff, that they wouldn't know that they weren't paid until the end of the season?
Right. Both of them don't get paid. If you're not employed through the school, you don't get paid until your season's.
So when they're doing 2-a-days and whatnot, if they think they're getting
They were
compensated,
told by a coach that they would get paid, and they thought they would get paid.
but that coach did not have the authority to promise that. That is my,
I understand.
that's why I guess it sticks in my craw. I'm just one side, so.
If I could say one thing to those two individuals, once they were asked to help out more with the varsity and JV, they did put more hours in than what they originally thought they were volunteering for.
And I don't doubt that one bit. I know that it takes a lot of time doing it, but like I said, I just want to speak in peace. Move on.
Is there anything else to that discussion?
I'll move we approve C5.
second.
Mr. Gilmore,
Aye.
Mr. Sell,
Yes.
Mrs. Piper,
No.
Mrs. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Schulman.
Yes.
Item number 7, first reading of board policies. Quite a few board policies there for you. We sent those out early. And then item number 8 is the second reading on a couple board policies we had in regards to purchases and procurement.
Will the 50,000 rather than 25 make things easier or more complicated?
Should make things easier.
Good.
Any other items, other business by the board, or administrator?
Reminder, the Franklin D. Walters coming up.
Wednesday.
Any information? Well, that was an informational item. Anything else?
Let's see, Mr. Metz, we are in finals at the high school now? Final, what kind of exams are going on now? Not finals. Yeah. Yeah, end of 9 weeks exam. Well, informed, Mr. Day.
And of course, well, actually, tomorrow morning we have ACT testing for our juniors and English language arts, end of course testing for our freshmen and sophomores.
And my senior thanks you for 4 hours of late tomorrow.
Hey, pretty schedule.
So at the end of the year exams, those are measured against like an entrance test that they take when they first go into the course, or is this a state mandated test?
The end of course exams.
It's just the end of course exams, gotcha. Okay.
If there are no other informational